Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Sister Show. This may be the final recording of the year, and what I really want to talk about this year, this moment, really is the things that I'm grateful for in the past year, and the things that I want to, look out for the next year coming. We always feel like New Year's are new beginnings, and they are essentially, but they do after we get over the excitement of the new year. It just feels like any other day. I think that's the reason why people tend to quit on their goals. But one key word I have for the new year is consistency. Like, that is my keyword, consistency, because there's so many things that I've tried in the past and I talked myself out of for whatever reason, and I don't want that to be the case anymore. I want to actually see there's some things that I want to see through to completion, and that is this YouTube channel. Having a YouTube channel, I wouldn't say would be, it would be one of the many things that I would, do in my career, but it wouldn't be like the main thing. So I've always contemplated, should I focus on starting a business is essentially what I want. Should I focus on this, and should I do my business YouTube channel? Oh, my hands are dry. Or should I just focus on the business, or should I focus on the YouTube channel? I've just been waffling this year, and I think I've come to the conclusion that why not give everything a try? Because even in the Bible it says that we should diversify our ways of getting money. So I think it's best I put that to the test. So what I really want to talk about were the things that I'm grateful for this year, and these are things that we shouldn't take for granted, even though it kind of feels like if you're living a normal life, these are the things that you kind of should have, but you don't want to be on the wrong side of this before you realize these are the things you should be grateful for. So the first thing I want to be grateful for is good health. I have not visited a hospital this year. I've not broken any bones. I've not had any diseases. I've not had any infections or illnesses whatsoever. Any discomfort I may have felt is because of the food that I ate, which was my choice. So, I've not been to a hospital, and that is something to be grateful for, because some people can't leave the hospital. Some people are there for, there are worse things like chemotherapy. It zaps your energy. I don't know what that's like. I don't want to know what that's like. I'm not no shade on the people who have them, obviously, but I am grateful for good health, because that is something we should be grateful for. Having a good job. I mean, it's not my ideal role, where I see myself in 2, 3, 5 years. But if you ask me in an interview, it absolutely is. But having a job is better than having no job. Having a place to go to every day, it's still something to be grateful for. And no, it's not just about having a paycheck, really. It's the environment. I do have co-workers that I like, that I enjoy talking to, that make the work day better. And I haven't had that in a long time. So it's nice to have not only a good paying job in a good place, but also have, good colleagues and co-workers that you can have a laugh with throughout the day. And so that is something to be grateful for, because I have been in toxic environments. I was in a sales environment in 2021, and that was so toxic. And I left that job before I found a new job because I just couldn't take it anymore. I had been applying for jobs, and I've always been asked for interview, but because that job wasn't hybrid and I never worked from home, I never got the opportunity to go to those interviews unless I had to call in sick, because there was no hybrid, there was no way around it. So because of the fact that I got so many interviews, I knew that if I left this place and I found a new job, I would absolutely find a new job. And also, worst case scenario, not that this was ideal, but when you need to pay your rent, you do what you need to do. I know that if I didn't find a job in time, I can just go work in a warehouse, because the jobs are so easy to get. They're always looking for people. The employment turnover is high. Yeah, it wasn't really a serious job, but you need the money. You need to eat. Nothing is free. There you go. So I'm grateful for having a good job. The third one is just being alive and well, just being alive and well, having a good well-being. I feel like our mental health we're meant to keep up our mental health the way we keep up our physical health. You exercise to get the 6-pack or whatever your goals are, and then you exercise to get to that, but you have to maintain it. And when you don't maintain it is when you start to gain weight or lose the muscle mass or whatever that might mean for you. So I think for me, being alive and well, like my body is my temple. I feed it things that I want to eat, not necessarily always the things that are good for it. But, you know, it's nice to be in control of my mind and in control of my thoughts. Even though sometimes we get intrusive thoughts, but to still be in a position to identify the intrusive thoughts and reject it is something to be thankful for, because, you know, there are people in mental hospitals and who is, you know, psychiatric hospital, I don't know if that's the thing, but, you know, mental hospitals who can't and who didn't, and we sympathize with them, and, you know, God bless them, because, you know, we're all human beings, we're all having a human experience. Some people are better in some areas than others, and I guess, you know, having mental health issues or mental strength is not one of them. You know, some people it has led them to commit suicide, and I'm so grateful that I'm not in that group. So being alive and well and being in control of my body and my life is one thing I'm grateful for. I would say one thing I've become grateful for is becoming more of myself. I've become more of myself because people talk about self-love, but self-love really means different things to different people. I think I should talk about that in a different video. Let me write that down. But, you know, self-love means different things for different people. And one of the ways that I knew I needed to express my self-love was standing up for myself. You know, standing up for myself, enforcing my boundaries. You know, it's very weird. Like, there's a point in my finger that it just keeps stinging, and I think, is it the electronics I have around me, or is there something that I don't know? But yeah, I've written it down. Self-love. I'll talk about that in a different video. What is it? Stay tuned. Anyway, one of the things that I wanted that were important to me to becoming more of myself was maintaining my boundaries. You know, I have had issues with people pleasing, even though the people who are close to me may not notice, because at the end of the day, we all have our own struggles, internal struggles. But being a people pleaser, you know, sometimes not defending myself to the extent that I know I'm capable of, and allowing the lie to, you know, spread, or allowing somebody else to dictate or to tell the story of this issue or whatever the situation is, when it's not correct. But because I didn't stand up for myself, I didn't say anything. And you know, when you're in those situations when after it's ended, you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I thought of this. That's always how it is for me. And I'm like, I'm not gonna let that happen. I know what made me go down into a shell of myself, but I know that once you stand out, and I know people are tired of hearing about it, but you can't be as tired as us experiencing it. But as a Black woman, people naturally want to ignore me. So when I speak, it's almost like sometimes it's not registered. Like, people just assume you're supposed to accept the disrespect, you're supposed to accept certain things, and I'm like, fuck no. Why? So enforcing my boundaries and I mean, I do need to pick my battles. That's one thing I should get used to, but enforcing my boundaries was the main thing. Like, I would want it to be clear to said person or persons that don't speak to me like this. I won't tolerate it. I don't appreciate it. Because not that, you know, I mean, not that vengeance is good and things like that. It's not good. And I won't say I'm a vengeful person, even though the thoughts do cross my mind, but I never act on it, and I get it out my head, because your thoughts create your actions. But, you know, once you've made it clear to someone not to do something, or not to, you know, enforcing a boundary, and they still go ahead and do it, not that vengeance is good, or whatever your response is good, and if it's harmful, whatever happens is you kind of ask for it, because I did make it clear, don't speak to him like this, don't say this to me, don't do this to me, blah blah blah, and you still did it anyway. So anything that happens after that is you asked for it. Anyway, so yeah, being more of myself and enforcing my boundaries is the one thing. There are a bunch of other things, but then at the end of the day, they're personal, and this is something that I know that people tend to ruminate over. So, like, this is something people tend to struggle with. So, you know, we all struggle with it in one degree or another. And the final thing there's not, you can never be grateful enough. But anyway, the last thing that I wrote down is, I'm grateful for God not abandoning me, because as human beings, we can make emotional decisions, we can make bad decisions, and through it all, God has been there. God, you know, the job that I have right now, actually, There was a time when I was working in a warehouse like years ago that I was praying for it, because in a warehouse you're always on your feet and my feet were killing me. And I was like, oh my God, I wish I had like a job where I can sit down all day and it's my option to stand up. Not that I'm stood up all day, like standing for 12 hours, and all these companies, they don't find a problem with it as long as the job gets done. Like, it feels so inhumane. Like, your feet are hurting and they don't want you to sit down. Like, what the actual fuck? What the fuck? Like, we're humans, it's gonna hurt. And the fact, yeah, some people are more motivated because they've got families to feed, but it doesn't stop that pain from being there. And if these companies can lighten the burden, why not? Why not? Anyway. Yeah. Oh. And the things I need to be cautious of. So now I'm done with the things I need to be grateful for. Now the things I need to be cautious of, things I need to keep in mind moving forward, things I've learned from lessons that have happened this year, because sometimes they've repeated themselves, is when it comes to friendships, for me, I need to have standards for friendships. The way when it comes to thinking of a partner, you have like a list of things you want. Obviously, you want an honest and caring person. I don't think we even need to mention that, because no one wants a woman beater. But, you know, the way you would you would have a list, whether you've written it down or it's in your head, or the type of person that you want. I think it's necessary to have the list of things you want in friends, because the pain that I've experienced from friends in the past have been, I don't know, some of it is relating to trauma. That's even the reason why those people were in my life in the first place. I won't say it because I don't want to, but yeah. So I think one of the reasons I had was whether I was in the same vicinity with people, whether it was work, school, college, university, because they were like the best that was around, and we somehow got along, I would almost be open to the friendship. But because they're not really for me, because I don't have that standard of list, but subconsciously I do, but they don't fit that, but because they're the best of what's around, and you're always in this environment, I always need to create a relationship with these. Well, I'm open to it, not that I actively do it, but I'm open to it. We'll see where it goes. But then, because I'm not, and one other thing I tend to do is overvalue these relationships. So because I assume we're friends, I start to expect certain things. Not like I expect you to give me certain things, but I don't think it's an unfair assumption for a genuine friendship, even though this wasn't, I saw it as it was at the time. You would think, you know, in certain situations, a friend would back you up. You think in certain situations, a friend would listen to you. A friend will invalidate you. And I'm thinking, what is the problem here? Is it that I don't think I'm friends with the right people, because if you've done something to me, you don't feel like you've done something, but I'm trying to have a conversation with you and you don't want to, then I don't think, for me, that's a deal breaker. What's the point of having a friendship? We can't just be experiencing the good moments. Bad moments also play a part in them as well. So I feel like maybe one of the reasons why I was even friends with such a person in the first place, because I seem to realize there's a pattern, is, you know, I don't have standards for friendship. So when someone's open to friendship with me, I almost sort of let my guard down and allow myself to be vulnerable with this person, when in reality I'm not as, for lack of a better word, special to them as they are to me. I think that makes sense. So I put too much expectation, thinking that, oh, these are my friends, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. They don't do it, I get hurt. I try to rectify the situation. It's not rectifiable for whatever reason. End of friendship. And there's a pattern. And I know people like to brag, oh, I don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck. I know people like to give a fuck. Like, people don't. People like to say they don't give a fuck. But I feel like if you don't give a fuck, you don't need to say you don't give a fuck. People know you don't give a fuck when they expect you to give a fuck and you don't. So constantly advertising this part of your personality is really a waste of time, because I just feel like if you're honest, if you're good, you don't need to tell people I'm a good person. Who are you to say you're a good person? I think Ted Bundy must have even thought he was a good person. You never know. Maybe Jeffrey Dahmer did. So I wouldn't want to say that, and I kind of lost my train of thought there, so I'm just going to backtrack and keep talking about whatever it was. Yeah, but I just feel I need to have standards in friendship. I will probably watch this video back when I'm editing it, and I'll realize what I was saying, and I would want to edit what I just said in. So I'm just gonna do that because I can't remember what I was saying. I think I just went on a tangent, then I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, yeah, it's not coming back to me. But anyway, I think I'm gonna have standards in friendships, and yeah, that's really it. Because maybe one of the reasons why I've been encountered, why I have encountered such people, is because I have just allowed what is to be rather than rejecting it if it needs to be. Rather than me looking for friends, looking for the right type of friends, I just sort of allow what's there to sort of happen and overestimate it. So that's my problem. That's my fault. I need to fix that. So that's one of the things I'm taking into the next year. Standards for friendships. Watch out for red flags is my second one. And it sounds so obvious. Of course, everybody watches out for red flags. But you know how we tend to not listen to our intuition and then it bites us in the ass? I would say that most of these friendships, I had an estimate what these type of, I had an idea what these people were, but I didn't listen because I sometimes, even though I know to listen to my intuition, sometimes it's almost like I still end up revealing things about myself. I still end up being vulnerable with this person until it gets worse. Assuming that, oh, because I'm aware of red flags, it won't bite me in the ass, and it does. So I need to watch out for red flags. And as I said at the beginning of the video, the third thing I'm taking into this year is consistency. Consistency is in all things, and one of the things I've kind of been nervous about is just putting myself out there in the world, in whatever that could be. Whether it's creating a YouTube channel, whether it's creating a video for TikTok or Instagram, I can easily talk myself out of it because I would feel like I would almost think that I would look stupid, but then I shouldn't be afraid to be seen trying. I shouldn't be afraid to be seen trying because we all try, we all sometimes, I won't say we all fail, but sometimes things don't work out and you have to try a different approach. I wouldn't say things never happen, but things can end in failure. It only ends in failure if you stop there. But yeah, so when it comes to even putting myself out there, I can easily talk myself out of it. I might post a video here, post a video there, and then stop because in my mind I'm feeling like it's too much because there's a part of me that wants to stay in, that doesn't want to come to the light, and that's the part that we need to use the blood of Jesus to drive out. So I need to put myself out there more, and consistency is key. And one of the reasons why I've stopped myself from doing a lot of things is because I was afraid to put myself out there. And I'm not going to be afraid of that anymore. I know people may watch my videos and be like, oh gosh, here she is again. She's trying to be an influencer. Who does she think she is? What a bitch. Whatever. I'm tired of seeing her face. Whatever it is that could be saying, but at the end of the day, when you succeed and when you get to where you're going to go, these are the same people that will try to be talking to other people about how they know you. They're trying to, start showing the support that they should have been shown from the beginning, because everybody started somewhere. Everyone, all these YouTubers that, have millions of followers and are popular and rich and all this stuff, they all started with 0. So this is I'm not on 0 subscribers. I'm on a wonderful 2. So I'm starting at 2. And yeah. I think consistency is key. Consistency is key. I feel like regardless of whatever it is, consistency is key. So I'm hoping that I will look back on this video in 365 days and I'll be proud of myself for the fact that I was consistent and the fact that I saw things through. I hope I can post at least, 1 video a week this year. I need to improve my video editing skills. I wouldn't say it's 0, but it's not where I want it to be. I still have to constantly look at my notes when I'm learning it, and I have to, apply it. And it's a bit slow right now, but with more, with practice, we'll get there. So those are the things that I'm keeping in mind to take into the new year. Create standards for friendships, watch out for red flags, and I would probably say watch out for red flags / listen to my intuition, and be consistent, and finally be comfortable in my own company. I think there's a part of whatever it is that makes us feel the fear of missing out, whatever that is, I want to have that feeling by myself. It's nice to be around friends and be around good people, but I don't want to put so much emphasis on being around people that I don't want to be around myself. And I feel like to an extent I have done that, because it's nice to be around people. Some things are more enjoyable when you have people around. But imagine when, when they're not there and you want to go somewhere, and sometimes you feel like, oh, I can't go there because I have no one to go with. Like, why not? It will be nerve-wracking. By the end of the day, whatever is normal is not real. We all created this normal. It can change. You go to some, I don't know, fancy restaurant by yourself, it might feel awkward, but by your 10th time, you'll be like, excuse me, what's that good? David, please, another drink over here. Maybe. Anyway, the point I'm trying to say is you'll be more comfortable. And I think that's it. That's everything I've written for now. After the video, I might think of a couple of things, but consistency is my keyword for the year 2024. And by God's grace, I will achieve all my goals, which I will keep to myself. I ain't telling nobody except in retrospect. Once I've completed them, I'll tell you this was my goal. But yeah, I think that's everything. And I would like to encourage everyone to create not just goals like New Year goals, like be fit and do this and blah, 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 blah. That's so typical. No, look at your life. What do you not like in it? What do you like? What do you not like? What do you need to change? Do this by yourself on your own. You can get other people's opinions, but you need to do it on your own. What do you feel you need to change? And you need to start creating steps, because even enforcing my boundary, even though that was like one of my goals for this year, enforcing my boundaries, when a moment came, it still was a bit nerve-wracking, but I was like, I can't betray myself. I'm not going to do it. Because when you set your boundaries, people are not going to be happy, because whether they feel good about themselves or they put you down, or I don't know, whatever the reason is, people don't like it when you enforce boundaries. It's uncomfortable. Even if someone wants to respect your boundaries, sometimes it is still, an uncomfortable conversation at times, but it still needs to be had, because I can't betray myself. I can't go to sleep at night and being unhappy and frustrated because of this thing that you're doing to me that I really don't like, and I can't stand it. And if I can't stand it and I don't say anything, I will just keep holding it in and holding it in and holding it in until you do the smallest thing and I just explode at you. And I don't want that. I don't want that to be the case. Growing up, we weren't in an African household. We weren't taught how to regulate our emotions. We weren't taught, how to deal with our emotions. And that's the fourth thing. Fifth thing. Oh my gosh. Was like, I won't say regulate our emotions. It's not like I need it regulated. It's just we weren't taught how to deal with our emotions. The emotion we typically saw our parents exhibit was anger and threats. I mean, we can laugh about it now, but it's a real problem. Like, that's what created our trauma. We weren't taught to deal with our problems. So when, at least for me, something is sticking in his finger. Anyway, I wasn't taught how to deal with my emotions sometimes. So I won't, sorry. Anyway. There's something in my finger. Anyway, we weren't taught how to deal with our emotions. So sometimes it could come out as anger, because that's the only emotion you know how to express. And the only way you can be angry at something small now I won't say small, it's still significant if it happens to you, but the only way you can be angry about something that someone has done that you don't like is if you keep quiet and let it build and build and build and build until you explode, or you give an attitude for the smallest thing. And I don't think that's me. That doesn't feel right to do for me. So yeah, I need to find a way how to deal with my emotions, and I probably need to get therapy, or maybe just YouTube, because therapy is hella expensive. So yeah, that's one of the things. I need to learn how to deal with my emotions. But I feel I am proud of myself for how I've handled the situations where I enforce my boundaries, because I did make it clear. I was respectful about it. It's like, I don't appreciate this name calling. I won't tolerate it moving forward. I'm happy about how I handled that. I don't want it to come out as anger, because the anger could, if you're too emotional when you say your problem, it could easily what's the word? It could easily the emotion of the situation could easily take over the message that you're trying to say. So someone could be so taken aback by your anger that they don't listen to what you're saying or whatever. Anyway, so that's it. And I hope you evaluate things yourself. Cry if you need to. Cry about that thing that happened 10, 20 years ago. You are entitled to it if you want. If you didn't feel it at the time, you haven't processed it. But make a list of the things that you are grateful for this year, the things you are proud of yourself for, and things to, you know, to look out for in a year, because we're always improving. In next year, after you've done this, probably you can ask people for their opinion. Maybe not before, because if it's before, then you may there's a chance you may end up arguing with people. Like, no, I didn't do that. That's not me. I mean, I didn't do that. I don't typically ask people for their opinion. But yeah, make a list, improve yourself. We're on this journey together. Yeah. Love you.